What's doing, everybody? Today is Thursday, July 18th. The levels of incompetence by the Secret Service director and the Secret Service is far worse than we could have ever imagined. Joe Biden announces that he has COVID and skips his Las Vegas event. The RNC is on fire with speeches, including the very first one from Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance. Joining me on the podcast today, former Trump State Department official Mike Benz, and also parental activist John Amanchukwu. I'm Alec Lace. This is the Alec Lace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, welcome everybody to the Alec Lace Show. I'm happy and honored as always to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching the broadcast live on Rumble, please get down there, hit the follow button, share the podcast, like the video, and get involved in the live chat if you could. Thank you so much for coming back to join me here on the podcast. If you missed out on Tuesday's episode, I really tried to stack the deck for you guys. I did my best to get as many good guests, to get as much insight as I possibly could for my own benefit and for you the listener as well. Into this historical event that happened, the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump that happened there in Pennsylvania on Saturday. So, yeah, if you missed out on Tuesday's episode, go check it out. I had Navy SEAL Team 6 operator Rob O'Neill, who is at the top levels of the sniping game, to kind of give his analysis of what went down, what went wrong. I had Sean Parnell and Mayor John David Longo here, who were both front row and about 20 feet from President Trump when he was shot in the face. They were also both on stage prior to Trump coming out, so they were here as well. I had Congressman Tim Burchett and Clay Clark as well. So if you missed out, it's the first time I ever had 5 guests on one show, and they did not disappoint. So go back and take a listen. Today, in a little bit, I'm going to be joined here, former State Department official, cyber official. He is the man in the arena when it comes to the censorship issues in this country. Mike Benz is going to be here with me. And also, I'm going to have a parent activist, a guy that went viral just for simply reading the books out loud that are in your kids' schools at a school board meeting, and that's going to be John Amanchukwu. He'll be here in a little bit as well. But first, I just wanted to it seems like the story is changing by the day or by the hour in some cases here with some of these headlines with what went wrong on Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania with the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump. The Secret Service, and I'll go through some of these headlines here, the Secret Service reportedly knew about the threat before Trump took the stage. So they were aware of it. We've seen where they took the pictures of this kid 20 minutes prior to him firing a shot. They were aware of him. He was on their radar. Another one. Parents called law enforcement hours before their son attempted to kill President Trump. The parents called the law enforcement and tipped them off to say, our son now is out there and he's a threat, whatever it may be. This was already on the board as well. The kid went to Home Depot prior to going to the rally in Pennsylvania, in Butler. He had a receipt on him. He purchased a ladder. He also purchased ammo from a nearby gun store. So, it seems like it's getting so much worse. You had people going up to the Secret Service, up to law enforcement, telling them, hey, there's a guy on the roof. We know we went through all of this. It almost seems like the next story we're going to hear is that the kid walked up to a Secret Service agent himself and said, hey, I plan on shooting President Donald Trump, so could you guys please get out of the way? You're blocking my view. It almost seems like that's how incredulous and how crazy of a lapse of security this was. There's zero chance that all of this stuff happened and they were unable to prevent just getting Trump off the stage. And I'll put this picture up here just to show how stupid it sounded when the director, and I'll play the video of her saying it just for necessary effect, but look at this picture here, right? This is a Secret Service agent standing on the roof of the White House. The White House, which is sloped. He's standing right on the sloped part of the White House. And here is the Secret Service director Kimberly Cheatle, telling you that the reason why she didn't have a man on the roof was it was a sloped roof. Take a listen.
Should that roof have been secure, period?
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
Even at the event, there are Secret Service agents standing on a sloped roof. So that answer is just for that answer alone, she should be fired just immediately. But to say something like that, it's a complete negligence here. And honestly, the more evidence that is coming out, the more and more it seems like we are beyond the point of her having to be fired. We're beyond the point of resignations being handed in. We are at the point of arrests. Somebody needs to be arrested in the Secret Service for what has happened here. They had to, even if they weren't personally in on it, their negligence led to this. Somebody has to pay a steep price. But it really seems like somebody was in on it. That person must be found, or these people must be found and held accountable. There's no accountability. We are 5 days past when President Trump was shot in the head, and no one has paid the piper yet. There's been absolutely nothing done. And you also have so many people out there right now that are still so sad that he missed, and they're not afraid to say it. I'm going to play this clip here for you guys to listen. This is exactly the mentality of almost half the country that has been completely hypnotized by the media that Trump is worse than Hitler ever could be. This is exactly what half the country thinks. Take a listen to this guy.
What was your thoughts about the assassination attempt?
They missed.
They missed.
They missed.
He
should have died. He's not good for this country, and he never will be.
Wow.
Ever. He's the worst person that could be ever in politics. He's not even a politician.
So you're disappointed that the shooter missed Donald Trump?
100%. 100%. No, nothing. He should have died. She doesn't like him as much as I do, but she's a little more sympathetic to people dying.
Do you think that the shooter was justified?
He did what he wanted to do.
Do you think it was justified? Like, do you think
in his eyes, I'm sure it was. But you know what? Since he missed, I can guarantee you there's going to be 100 people that are going to try to not miss.
Would you support that?
Yeah, 100%. He doesn't need to live. He doesn't need to be a president.
And if you think of it from this guy's perspective, what this guy has been exposed to for the last 6-7 years is that he has been told that Donald Trump is Hitler or worse. So naturally, your response is, it's like almost as if you found out that Hitler was almost assassinated, but the guy missed. Wouldn't you be upset? You'd be like, oh man, they had a chance to get him and they didn't. Well, that's in their mind. It's justified to do this. Like, this guy has no problem right there saying, yeah, of course I hope they do it again. Are you crazy? We're talking about Hitler here. This is why I think that the word Hitler should be treated almost like the N-word, right? You shouldn't be allowed to say, we should call it the H-word. That's a serious, when you're calling somebody Hitler, that's not like calling somebody, a bad name or a slur. You're accusing that person of being one of the most evil people to walk on the planet. You're accusing this person of being something sinister, right? And it should not be thrown around lightly. That's a serious accusation. You can't just go around calling people. And the comparisons to Trump and Hitler are zero. There is not one comparison other than they were both born male. That's really the only. After that, everything else goes out the window. And of course, they'll take statements. Oh, look at what Trump said. His view on this is just like Hitler's view. So that's like as stupid as saying, like, do you believe in growing the economy? Oh, you do? Hitler did too. So you align with Hitler. You're just like Hitler. Do you believe that pornographic material should be done away with? Do you think pornographic material is good? Oh, you don't think it was good? Well, neither did Hitler. So you're just like Hitler. You align with Hitler. I mean, they play this stupid game. And they try to make these comparisons. They go out of their way to try to find some kind of word that Trump used. I mean, oh my God, Hitler used the same word. The comparison is so stupid. But it should not be a word that's thrown around with ease. And the media and people on the left in politics have been using it and indoctrinating and building this kind of hatred for Donald Trump amongst the left. And you could see it. You know yourself. When you speak to somebody about Donald Trump, who has this Trump derangement syndrome, they're like seething, foaming at the mouth with the anger that they have over this guy that they've never met and that the only reason they hate him is because of what the media has told them about him. And it's the same way they feel about Trump supporters. So you have to wonder, again, Hitler is responsible for murdering millions of innocent people, right? He's one of the worst people that we have in history. And you're telling people that Trump is the same as this guy. He's just as bad as Hitler. So why in the world would you expect that all these people that come out and support Trump, you would have to hate them too? And that is how these people feel about Trump supporters. They see them as racists. They see them as xenophobic or anti-women. And they just see them as all these things that they are not. They have this false vision of who Trump supporters are. And so I don't know how, Biden says, tone down the temperature. Biden, who's got the COVID now. We'll talk about that in a second. But they talk about toning down the temperature. It's too late. The toothpaste is out of the tube already. They have already done the damage. And he keeps talking about, there are threats to democracy. Now, we have the FBI, who is now going to be investigating Donald Trump's assassination attempt. That means that we're never going to get the truth about what happened here. It has to be somebody put this kid in the position to take the shot. He did not do this alone. Now, one of the reports that came out, too, was that when they had trouble getting into it, so they couldn't get into the phone, then they got into the phone. But he had encrypted messages, so they couldn't find out who he was messaging. I guess he used an encryption app. I know some of those, maybe WhatsApp, I know maybe has encryption. I don't know what he used, but they said his messages, that his communications were encrypted, is what the report said. The question is, who is he communicating with? Who do you think would be using encrypted messaging? And you just continue to smell a rat. And the percentage of this kid doing this on his own seems to be zero. Here's a picture here. Sean Parnell posted this, so I want you to look at this picture here. Sean Parnell, I just had on the podcast Tuesday. You can see him and Mayor Longo in this picture. They're on the bottom right there. They were, as you can see, front row. Now, this picture, if you look in the top left corner, that is the building. That's the shooter's perch right there, to give you a sense of exactly how close this guy, this kid, this pimply-faced kid was to Donald Trump. And that is how in the world, this is like Rob O'Neill was here on Tuesday talking about the first thing you do is go to where the principal is going to be standing and you look around to see where the threats are. The first thing you see is that building. I mean, it couldn't be any more clear. So what is any excuse that they give for not having a man on that roof is no good. There isn't an excuse they could possibly give. This Cheatle says, it was sloped? Shame on you. Shame on you. So now Joe Biden has the COVID-19. Joe Biden, who, by the way, he's the guy that told you not to worry about COVID if you've been vaccinated. Now, we know Biden's gotten every vaccine and booster there is, if that's what they're giving him. I mean, who knows if they're really giving him saline shots or what it is. But, he's taken the poison shots that are supposed to prevent you from getting COVID, but he gets COVID. So now, what do you have? You have the comparisons. Listen to this went kind of viral yesterday, too, with Joy Reid. Listen to this comparison between Biden getting COVID and Trump getting shot in the face. Listen to how ridiculous Joy Reid sounds on MSNBC. Take a listen.
Question that I have on that. These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same?
It should.
I mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same incident, but it's an elderly man coming through out of an illness.
It should.
It's the same thing. Same thing. Trump got shot in the face and comes back. Biden got COVID and he's coming back. Isn't it the same thing? Like, Joy Reid has zero touch with reality. She just hates Trump so bad, she reaches as far as she can. This is toxic levels of Trump derangement syndrome. She's so far gone, this lady, that she'll never be able to come back to reality ever again. It's the same thing. coming back from COVID and coming back from getting shot in the face. Oh, it killed millions of people. Number one, we have no idea if that's true. We have no idea how many people died of COVID. We have no idea how many people died with COVID and how many people died of COVID. And she's talking there, too, about the people that had to die alone in the hospital. That was because Joe Biden wouldn't allow any. He's the one that put the mandates. Biden is the one that had the mandates, not Donald Trump. So this entire thing, Joe Biden getting COVID, I think it's going to be an excuse. Chuck Schumer came out yesterday. Reports are Chuck Schumer said that he asked Biden to step down. This is the top leading Democrat official, and now he has turned the tail on Biden. So I would have to say I was wrong. On Tuesday, I had the sense that since this happened, there's no sense that they're going to try to pull him out now, because why waste one of their next candidates on what it seems to be an obvious Trump landslide, especially riding the momentum from all of that has happened. His fighting spirit after being shot in the face, I think has really revived a lot of the patriotism in this country. So I think, but maybe I'm wrong now. It almost looks like now it's destined to fail for Joe Biden. He is worse and worse. Look at him here in this thing. He can't even walk up the steps to the plane. It's getting very embarrassing to watch. Jill Biden, or Dr. Biden, whatever they call her, should be ashamed of herself. And so here you had Joy Reid saying, oh, it's the same thing. I want to just point out, though, CNN's Van Jones, he made the correct assumption and at least had the wherewithal to use common sense and say, yeah, well, Trump came back from getting shot in the face. Biden can't come back from getting COVID, getting sick. And that shows you. Here's Trump gets shot in the face. He's up and he's back at the RNC. Here's Biden, who's got COVID, which is basically a cold, and he's out of commission now. He can't make his event in Las Vegas. But this event united so many people, and of course, not talking about the Trump derangement syndrome. Those people ain't going anywhere. As you heard, the guy, they want him to try again. But I want you to listen. I hope he captures it wherever you're listening. If you're listening in the car or if you're listening on your iPhone, I hope this captures it, because one of the guys posted this. I think it was the twins. I forget their names now, but the twins, the two black guys there, the two twins, they posted this. The Hedge brothers, the Hedge twins, something like that. They posted it. So this video from one of the people that were there at the rally, Hodge twins, right? This video, to me, I have never heard the way that the crowd erupted like this in this video. So I think it was the best audio capture when Trump triumphantly raises his hand in the air and starts to yell fight at the crowd. So hopefully it picks it up the same way that I got it here, wherever you're listening. But take a listen to this clip. I mean, it almost sounded like a football stadium there, the way that the crowd, I mean, it almost sends chills down your back to hear the way the crowd erupted when Donald Trump stood up and reassured the crowd that he was okay and told them to fight. I mean, what a moment in time. It really is unbelievable. And, of course, now they have reports. Now, originally, the way this stuff changes, you heard that the ear, that Trump's ear was hit by a piece of glass from a shattered teleprompter. That was one of the reports that was going around. Trump said he was nicked with the bullet. So you have people on the left now claiming that, oh, it wasn't even a bullet that hit him. Now, there's people out there that are saying he's milking it with the bandage because he comes into the RNC like this here. He's got the bandage on his ear. They're saying he's using it as a prop. These are the same people that dressed like the man from space during COVID in their car all by themselves, and they virtue signaled. For a year, they virtue signaled with the masks and the shields and everything else, right? It was all a virtue signal. And they're saying now, oh, Trump's using the thing, he just got shot in the ear. Oh, he's using it as a prop. Now, the thing with the glass, I take Trump's word that he's hit with the bullet, and the reason for that is because I have yet to see a single video, and we've seen a lot of them from different angles. I have yet to see a single video that shows any glass getting shot, any teleprompter whatsoever, and I have not seen one single photograph that has now they had every single photographer was there. New York Times guys were brilliant. I mean, they got some brilliant shots. Doug Mills, I think, was one of the guys that got the shot of the bullet itself frozen in time here. I mean, amazing. What an amazing shot. So the photographers, I mean, and then rightfully so, they should get a big payday for these pictures that they took because, I mean, they were right there. And listen, they don't know that there's an act that there could be multiple shooters out there. These guys were getting the shots and they gave it to us to see and to have for history. So, I mean, props to some of those photographers because they got some great shots during this thing. But they even took shots. Here's this. This is another great photo. This is just a picture of the shoe, Trump's shoe on stage by itself. I mean, they were taking pictures, especially once Trump was taken away. They photographed everything. I have not seen a single photograph of a shattered teleprompter anywhere. So where this story originated from, I have no idea. But the left seems to want to, and even if it was, does that negate the fact that if he was hit with some kind of shrapnel or if he was hit with some kind of debris, does it lessen the moment? Not whatsoever. And you could clearly see the picture of the bullet going by his head. There's no picture of a piece of glass by his head. So that's what I'm saying there. So it doesn't seem like that's a logical thing to happen unless we see something else, something different, which, again, stories seem to change. And it just seems like we're not going to get the truth no matter what. All right, so let's get into the interviews. First up, Mike Benz is joining me now. And again, I said on Tuesday, if you're not following this stuff on Twitter, if you're not following it on X, you are really behind the curve on the information as it comes out. Mike Benz is one of the best follows on Twitter. His analysis of what has happened here since the shooting has been brilliant. And, you know, I originally reached out to Mike because I wanted to get his take on some of this censorship stuff, the cyber stuff. But now, because this has happened, I'm definitely going to get his take now. We're going to get his latest feeling and breakdown of what is going on here, especially with this Secret Service, which seems like to me be an inside job. And now the FBI is leading the investigation into it. So we're going to take a dive into that right now. Mike Benz is the executive director of the Foundation for Freedom Online. He's a former State Department official in the Trump administration. So I'm honored to get him on. Let's do this.
You're listening to the Alec Lake Show. The future is family.
All right, here we go. Joining me now, Mike Benz. Welcome to the Alec Lake Show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm honored to have you here. When I reached out a couple of weeks ago to get you onto the show here, I wanted to talk a lot more about internet censorship. But right now, obviously, your coverage, your analysis on what has happened here, the assassination attempt on President Trump has been brilliant. And the stories keep changing, almost by the hour. Now, it seems like there's just too many red flags from the Secret Service missing this. The fact that Kimberly Cheatle hasn't stepped down yet, I think, is an embarrassment. But what's your latest analysis here on what has happened?
I think that there needs to be some sort of congressional subcommittee that draws a through line to the January 6th pipe bomb in the present situation. And I'll tell you why I say that. We had the biggest attempted terrorist attack in our country since 9/11, we were told, on January 6, 2021. This was an event where pipe bombs, we were told, were placed at the RNC and DNC headquarters. And it took about a year after January 2021 for us to learn that Kamala Harris, the vice president under Secret Service protection as the vice president-elect that day, was actually at the DNC building as the pipe bomb was found, which meant Secret Service had to have cased the area, had to have sent an advance team, had to have had bomb-sniffing dogs, had to have done an entire, world-class protection of that site. And the pipe bomb was placed at the front leg of the park bench at the entrance of the building. And then Kamala Harris either lied or stonewalled Congress and evidently the Justice Department, because the Justice Department lied in their indictments for the first full year of the prosecutions, saying that Kamala Harris was in the Capitol building. But it turned out it was the Secret Service who was supposed to have protected against that pipe bomb. And then we learned that pipe bomb was laid out for 17 hours. And then once the world got wise to the Secret Service's role there, and they were sent letters by House investigators, they wiped their phones. so that we couldn't find out what their communications about it were. Meanwhile, the FBI went and seized all of the tapes. The FBI, as we speak, is sitting on a tape of the January 6th pipe bomber taking the bomb out of the bag. In March 2021, they disclosed a video of the pipe bomber approaching the park bench, but then they cut the stationary camera off. We are told that that pipe bomber plants the bomb at that bench. Why would they hide the missing money shot of the commission of the crime? If that bomb was planted there 17 hours earlier and then discovered by the Secret Service, we will know if that was the same instrument if the FBI simply turns over the tape. It's been 3 years, and they've been under the cloak of a so-called ongoing investigation to stop the American people from knowing if that person had any federal contacts, what that person's identity was. And here you have the same 1-2 punch of the Secret Service and the FBI. You have a totally amateur hour, deranged 20-year-old, we're told, just like it was a deranged, weird, skinny weirdo wearing a hoodie who made 2 ineffective dud bombs, with that there was no remote capability for implanting, and they were dud devices. So evidently it was amateur hour both times. And you have the Secret Service missing this. You have this unbelievably shady comment from the head of Secret Service, Kim Cheatle, who, by the way, defended the wiping of the Secret Service phones, which frankly should be, an offense in and of itself. I mean, that these are supposed to be federal records, and they just deleted them like Hillary Clinton bleach bidding her phones after they were under subpoena. But so once again, you have Secret Service malfeasance. This reason she cited that a minor, less than 10-degree slope, something that a baby could circumnavigate on all fours. And yet that was the reason that the nearest elevated surface to the entire platform was left undefended. Not only that, they evidently had the person in their sights for 26 minutes, and they didn't even tell Trump to get off the stage. I can understand if perhaps you don't want to, shoot somebody if you think it might not be a gun. But the moment you see somebody up on that elevated surface, you tell the president, hey, step down. We need to investigate this. Come back to your remarks in 2 minutes after we send someone up there. But for some reason, Secret Service didn't do that. We need those communications freezed and seized by House investigators immediately, so they can't do the January 6th pipe bomb situation again. And the fact that the FBI has not disclosed any social media accounts, any online presence, any communications, we need to know this shooter's network. Not more transparency from BlackRock than from the FBI. They were at that shooter's house for 4 hours before they disclosed a name. That means they have that person's internet router. That means they have their IP address. That means they have every Google search this would-be assassin and Trump rally murder has ever done from his home computer. That means they have the whole network and all communications, and they need to be turned over to congressional investigators immediatity.
Mike, it's a brilliant analysis once again. And also, just like you said, it's 3 years has gone by. We don't know any more about the pipe bomb than we did that day. And it feels like it's going to be that same type of momentum with the FBI here investigating this. And the slope roof thing, I mean, I just had, Rob O'Neill, the Navy SEAL, on here on Tuesday to talk about that. He's a sniper. The slope roof theory, that is one of the most ridiculous things that she could have said. She could have probably just said almost any other excuse other than that. It's so stupid to say something like that. But now we see that we learn that this kid, prior to going there, went to Home Depot. He had a receipt on him for purchasing of a ladder. And he had explosives, whether they're duds or not, in the car. Aren't there dogs constantly walking around the area, bomb sniffing dogs? It just seems like I've been to several of these events where Trump speaks, and it seems like the possibility of some kid getting that close to Trump with a weapon is almost zero. It seems like there's a 0% chance it could happen. How did it go from that type of security to all of a sudden they missed the shooter? They have him in their sights 26 minutes. They have nobody in a direct line of sight of the president put on that roof. They don't get Trump off the stage. There's way too many red flags here to say something radically wrong. This is either massive incompetence or this is a setup and an inside job. And it just seems like everything is pointing to this had to be some type of inside job.
On the topic of the explosives, it's instructive to remember that 3 months prior to January 6th, the Whitmer Fednapping event happened, where you had radicalized loners, the lead person living in the back of a vacuum machine repair shop. whose life was turned into a Truman Show, as that person was surrounded by something like 12 to 13 different federal agents and informants, radicalizing that person and pitching them logistics for how to kidnap and potentially assassinate the governor of Michigan. It took months after that to learn of the role of federal informants and years to learn that the entire plot was concocted by the FBI. Now, what's very instructive about that is the entire explosives angle was the FBI top to bottom. It was the FBI who proposed the use of explosives. It was the FBI who sent multiple federal agents to the training sites of the 3%ers, the militia there, and then instructed them how to make pipe bombs, how to make explosive devices, and then tried to sell them pipe bomb making material. So the fact that you have an FBI, by the way, they did the same thing in a case in 2017 with another so-called right-wing militia person, where once again, they pitched the person on how to buy explosives. They trained the person on how to buy explosives and then only levied the indictment after the person pressed the remote on the button they gave them to blow it up. The FBI has a special expertise in teaching loners and selling loners and training loners on how to make pipe bombs. And the fact that this person may have had this explosive devices we're learning, and the fact that they are sitting on the January 6th pipe bomber, who you damn well know that they have leads on. This person walked barefoot through Capitol Hill for 90 minutes on foot, making cell phone calls. And then the FBI tells us, oh, the data was corrupted. BS. They didn't find a single hair follicle, a single skin cell when they have this person walking around on foot, touching surfaces the whole time. No friggin' way. There is somebody in that person's network, in that suspect's network, that they don't want us to know about for political reasons. And so they are doing the standard FBI protocol where the FBI is where the evidence goes to die.
Very well said, Mike. And we know that they're going to, like you said, they whitewashed and erased all the material from the Secret Service with the pipe bombs. They're going to do the same exact thing here. There's no doubt about it, especially, too, now that it looks like Trump has all the momentum to get back into the White House. He could unseal everything and get full. I mean, imagine this guy getting into the White House and uncovering all the information about the plot to kill him, and he's seeing it in real time. They would never allow him to see that. And it just seems like they have been doing nothing but trying to prevent him from getting in there, because they know once he gets in there, the curtain is up on the FBI. The curtain is up on all these corrupt deep state officials that have been trying to take him down, and he's going to have inside access for it. So there's going to be a massive book burning event going on at the White House right after November 5th, in my opinion.
Well, there's two ways that we can send a message to the Justice Department immediately. The first one is Representative Anna Paulina Luna has an inherent contempt motion. Now it's to fine Merrick Garland $10,000 a day for noncompliance with the subpoena that he sentenced Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro to jail for. That was watered down from jail. That should be jail. Merrick Garland should be sitting in the same jail cell that was kept warm for the past 4 months by Peter Navarro. That would send a very powerful message to the Justice Department that you can't do this anymore. And the second one is the power of the purse. Frankly, the main reason we have terrorism in this country is because we have a federal Bureau of Investigation to instigate it. Almost all of the major terror events of the past 20 years, if you go behind the headlines of FBI thwarted plot, there you'll find on paragraph 27 that the FBI actually instigated and caused it in the first place. The FBI needs to be sent a message. The head of the Justice Department is guilty of the crimes he sentenced 2 innocent men to prison for defying a subpoena. The lawman has to be sitting in a prison cell because no one is above the law. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we have to zero out these budgets. You don't want to turn over evidence? Cool. We don't turn over a paycheck as taxpayers.
Yeah, brilliant. And just on the shooter's phone, Mike, they were saying that they couldn't get into the phone first. That was the first report. They were having trouble cracking into the phone. Then they were able to get into the phone, and they found no useful information in there whatsoever, which I find almost impossible to believe that they wouldn't find anything in there. They talked to the parents. The parents reportedly, the parents called law enforcement that day, that hours before, and notified law enforcement that there was a problem with their son. I mean, so it just, again, the more things that are coming out, the worse this thing is looking, for the fact that, number one, either they missed it or they purposely looked away. This thing smells so bad. You smell a rat with this thing. You have people there pointing at the roof saying there's a shooter. We have all the video footage from the people saying, hey, there's a guy on the roof with a gun. Why in that second, like you said, even if you don't know, maybe it's a cop that's up there. Maybe it's the gun looks like a sandwich or something. You don't know. Okay. But at least get Trump off of the stage until you assess the threat and find out what it is. And it seems like there was no sense of urgency from anybody there in law enforcement that day.
And all it would take is basically a rogue cell within Secret Service, someone from the FBI with advanced knowledge that some radicalized person was going through with a text message. Yeah, I've said this multiple times this week, but there was an incredibly instructive case in Garland, Texas in 2015. It was the first homegrown ISIS attack at a time when Obama was trying to put military boots on the ground in Syria. And so they were playing up this, that everyday Americans were turning into ISIS supporters. And there was an attempted murder. There was a shooting that took place in Garland, Texas at a right-wing event. And there was a whole murder trial, and the whole thing, it was a lone gunman. It took 4.5 years for it to come out that evidently the FBI had an informant talking to that person. He was paid something like $125,000. We only learned this because the defense lawyer in the case had an inside connection at the Arizona field office of the FBI, who ended up telling this after the trial. But it turned out the FBI had paid over $100,000 to someone to become that person's best friend and to text him to, quote, tear up Texas, and that the FBI had secretly had, unbeknownst to the defense lawyers during the trial, the FBI was actually tailing the shooter on the way to the shooting and let the shooting go off. He was trailing him in a car behind that. What if it's the same situation here? Can we afford to wait 4.5 years to learn that information? We need a congressional subcommittee to subpoena all of this, and everyone who does not cooperate with that subpoena should be taking over from the jail cell that Stephen Bannon will be getting out of in 3 months.
Yeah, and the one that Peter Navarro just got out of and headed to the RNC right after. And I think that's going to be a powerful moment, too, for him to get up there and speak, because what they did, they railroaded this guy. And like you said, Attorney General Merrick Garland does the same thing. He gets away with it. And the American people are sick and tired of seeing this happening with our Justice Department, which has been weaponized against President Donald Trump. And we've all watched it in real time, the way that they are trying to do all of these things against him. And it just seems at this point, how do you know who to trust? That seems to be the problem here, especially for us in the public. And you talk about censorship. Any possible thing that could help us get a better inside, we're never going to get an attempt to see any of it. They're going to censor anything possible, just like they told us to. The Hunter Biden laptop was fake. It was Russian disinformation. So any information that comes out, they have the ability of putting out there, oh, this is false information, even though it could be right on target. We'll never know, because they have control of the narrative, and that seems to be just as important to them as it does to have control of the operation.
Well, that's starting to change, fortunately. Elon Musk has been absolutely brilliant and fearless in his leadership of X. We have free speech on X now in a way that we did not 4 years ago. The fact is, everything you just said was totally true 4 years ago, and even 3 years ago, and to some extent 2 years ago. But that has dramatically changed. And the fact is, I think they know it. They cannot replicate the same sort of control structure at present moment that they could years ago. And even just this week, Facebook announced that they're lifting the restrictions on Donald Trump's account. Now, I think they're probably doing this because they think Trump might win the election, and they're trying to not be in Trump's disfavor should he return to power. But the fact is at this point, the main censorship issue is the censorship coming from the Federal Bureau of Investigations and the Department of Homeland Security. And that 1-2 punch is responsible, in my view, for the malfeasance on January 6th. And very well may be responsible for some of what we're seeing with this assassination attempt.
It almost seems, Mike, like we might need somebody like the guy down there in Argentina with the Afrea, with these the Department of Homeland Security and the Secret Service. They got a clean house in there to figure out. I mean, you can't have. They have 43 years since something like this has happened, and not one person has been fired. Not one person has been held accountable. That's responsible for the security of the president. It's impossible to believe something like that could happen, and heads haven't rolled for that kind of just complete incompetence. So going forward here, let me close this out for you too. Going forward here, President Donald Trump now walking around with a wound on his face because he was shot. How does this? How do you trust the Secret Service moving forward when they haven't removed anybody? How do you trust the FBI when nobody's been held accountable? How do you move forward, even if you're Donald Trump and the team around him? How do you know who to trust, and how do you move forward from an event like this when all the same people are in place?
You don't. Zero trust. It's the parable of the snake. You know what the FBI is. Every American who's got a functioning frontal lobe knows what the FBI is and knows what the DHS is. You don't trust. That is why you need independent investigations. That's why you need subpoenas, and you need jail time for anyone who defies the subpoena, so that the investigation can take place in an honest and high integrity way, not in a way where it's subject to this Justice Department. So that's, again, the first one is subpoenas and jail for those who don't cooperate. And the second one is they have to be hit in the pocketbook. You can't keep, DHS got every penny it asked for in the last budget. The FBI is getting a brand new building. The Republicans are in control of the House Appropriations Committee. They could X that out in a heartbeat if they had the consensus to do it. I don't know what should be more galvanizing for a consensus than to have the Republican nominee for president shot in the face in broad daylight, to still give them taxpayer money at this point without the reforms that we just discussed is a disgrace and a betrayal of the American people.
Yeah, right on, Mike. And let me get a take here for you. So the Foundation for Freedom Online. What do you, and real quick, just to what you were saying about Elon Musk and Twitter there, I agree. I consumed everything on Twitter. I didn't even turn on one mainstream media all weekend long. I was on Twitter. That's where I got everything and was able to see things change in real time. So it has changed the game for the way that I consume media myself. And I found myself, I couldn't get off Twitter. Like I could not stop following what was going on. I haven't been that sucked into anything really since 9/11. The coverage was unbelievable because we were getting it in real time.
It's the only honest URL on the internet. If you're not, I said this the other day. I mean, X is an app that's like, plugging your brain into an outlet and hitting the on switch. You know more from 5 minutes on X than you do from 5 hours or 5 days of listening to mainstream news coverage. Mainstream news coverage was a total travesty. I mean, they said loud noises, and this was even posted that there were instructions from media outlets to not refer to it as an assassination attempt. The president was shot in the face in broad daylight. To not make serious faces, to not call it I don't know how anyone can consider themselves a good sort of civic-minded American and not be on X and plugged in that way, because anything you get through filtered news is going to be biased, skewed, and intentionally lie to you for their own political ends. So you have to follow basically peer-to-peer communications. It's the only honest way to ingest information in the modern age.
It's to the point where even if you're in the bodega or you're waiting for coffee and you listen to people talk, you can tell where they're getting their information. And if you speak to somebody about it and you listen to the information, you can tell right away whether they're on X or they're not, because you can just hear by the way that they're discussing these things. So let me close it out here. What do you got coming up here? Foundation for Freedom Online. Where the listeners can go to find out more. What are you working on right now?
Yep. And my X handle is at Mike Benz Cyber. That's all one word, at Mike Benz Cyber. We have 2 reports coming out next week following up on Jim Jordan's congressional investigation of GARM, which is the major advertiser network through the World Economic Forum to boycott independent news sites and deprive them of billions of dollars of advertiser revenue. We have a big series coming out on GARM and its connections and its federal contracts, and how all of that can essentially be cleaned up by the House, should they so choose to.
Yeah, I love your reporting. Your stuff's always on the money. So I got the link to your Twitter handle and your website down in the description below. I'd love to have you on again down the line to take a deeper dive into some of this stuff. Mike Benz, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time today on the Alec Lay Show.
Thank you, Alec. Bye.
Yeah, honored to have Mike Benz on the podcast here. We'd definitely love to get him on again down the line, because how good is that? I think that was a brilliant point talking about tying it all in with the January 6th pipe bomber. I remember, if you guys remember, I had Darren Beatty on here like a couple of months ago really hammering in on the FBI and that entire shady deal with how Kamala Harris was right there and the Secret Service failed to do anything about this pipe bomb, and now they have completely covered it up. It wasn't included at all in their huge January 6th commission. They didn't talk about it at all. Why is that? I'm just saying that it just seems more and more like this is an inside job. It's very hard to think that it's not. And I think we're beyond the point. This is either going to be, for Kimberly Cheatle here, it's going to be either fired, resigned, or arrested. And I don't know if right now I'm leaning more towards arrested with what's going on here. Until this has been a serious, purposeful, it seems. And he also ties in the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot where the FBI was guilty of taking these people and turning themselves into these kidnappers, putting them onto the plot. I mean, these were undercover guys that worked to change the minds of individuals and get them to do something illegal. We've seen it happen. We know it happens. This kid, this pimply-faced Crooks, Thomas Matthew Crooks, he seems like the perfect candidate for that MK Ultra type program. He seems like the perfect candidate for somebody in the government to turn into an assassin. I mean, it just seems like it. It seems like he would fit the profile for that kid. And it seemed like he certainly was acting with the confidence that he was going to get to fire that shot. He didn't seem to be shaken by the fact that there were people screaming out, hey, there's a shooter on the roof with a gun. He didn't seem to worry about it. He almost did it like he was operating with the confidence that he was going to get that shot off. Now, did they promise the kid a way to get out? He had bombs or something in his car. Was that supposed to be he was going to detonate the car as a distraction to be able to get away? Did they promise him an evac? Did they promise him they were going to get him out of there? And he went up there under the assumption that he was going to get the shot off and didn't think he was going to get blown away. But they ended up killing him, so that's it. Dead men tell no tales. Is that what's happened here? So I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. All I know is it seems that there cannot be that many things that have gone wrong for President Trump to have been shot in the ear. We know with all this information coming out that they were aware of the guy. There's no excuse. Zero excuses. This is negligence to the point of you should be arrested for how bad it is, not even fired. You got a man murdered. We all talk about President Trump shot in the ear and how terrible that was and the whole thing. There was a man who was murdered. And he was murdered as a direct result of Director Cheatle's negligence. So she needs to be held responsible for this. This isn't something you get fired over. This is something you get charged with. Your negligence directly led to the murder of this guy and critical condition for others. All right, so real quick before we get to the next interview, let me share. We got the RNC going down right now in Milwaukee. So let me share some of the highlights, some of the clips from that. And then I'll bring John Amanchukwu on the podcast here to close this out. I'm going to give you just a couple of the ones. It's been going on since Monday. I'm going to give you, I thought Dr. Ben Carson was great. I thought Vivek Ramaswamy was great. I'll give you a clip from Peter Navarro, who was released from prison and went right to the RNC. And then I will give you J.D. Vance. All right, so I'll give you a clip of these guys. Here it is.
Let me tell you the weapons that they used. First, they tried to ruin his reputation, and he's more popular now than ever. And then they tried to bankrupt him, and he's got more money now than he had before. And then they tried to put him in prison, and he's freer and has made other people free with him. And then last weekend they tried to kill him, and there he is over there alive and well.
The message to Gen Z is this: you're going to be the generation that actually saves this country. You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative. Say you want to get married, have kids, teach them to believe in God and pledge allegiance to their country. Because you know what? Fear has been infectious in this country, but courage can be contagious too. That too is what it means to be an American.
They can come for me. And if they can come for Donald Trump, be careful, they will come for you. If we don't control our government, their government will control us. I went to prison so you won't have to.
Together, we will put the citizens of America first, whatever the color of their skin. We will, in short, make America great again.
All right, so there you go. Obviously, tonight, President Donald Trump is going to speak at the RNC and accept officially the nomination for president. It's going to be a huge night. I know there's a lot of people speaking. I believe Dana White. I know Eric Trump is going to be speaking. So here we go. I'm going to give you just share this one highlight with you, not the whole speech, but this Madeline Bram who spoke about her 35-year-old son who is an Army veteran who was murdered in New York City when just brought the house down. I think this was the best speech so far of the RNC, by far. The passion of this mother was unbelievable. I'm not going to play you the whole speech. I'm going to give you a couple of highlights. I highly recommend you watch the whole thing. She went just off crazy on this this left-wing lunacy from the DAs, these soft-on-crime DAs, and she really crushed it. And she just take a listen.
He received enemy fire from the Taliban, only to be murdered with a knife on the streets of New York City. The four assailants responsible for his death initially were facing justice, but that changed when District Attorney Alvin Bragg was elected. Suddenly, two of the homicidal maniacs responsible for my son's death had their gang assault and murder charges completely dismissed. We need justice for victims, and we need accountability for prosecutors who failed in their duty. Soft-on-crime prosecutors like Alvin Bragg in New York, Kim Fox in Chicago, and George Gascon in Los Angeles have turned our great country and cities into war zones. And who else in here is sick and tired of being sick and tired? The Democratic Party that poor minorities have been loyal to for decades, including myself, all right? They betrayed us. They stabbed us in the back. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who claim to represent us, have abandoned us. They neglected the poor minority communities across America. Trump was right when he said, they're after us. He's just standing in the way.
And she admits there that she was duped by this, that the Democrat Party is for the minorities, for the black people. She admits it in her speech, and she says she was wrong, and she realizes, and she's woken up to the fact that these people aren't here to help them. And so, man, God bless her. What a passionate mom, and she's not done. We're going to see a lot more from her. She became a star at the RNC. And speaking of becoming a star online, my next guest here, John Amanchukwu, he became a star online because for a simple fact that he was reading out loud the pornography books that are available to kids in school. And that they call him the book burning pastor because he's talking about getting rid of these books that are poisoning the minds of our children. And so he went completely viral for this stuff. He's very well known. He's a pastor, a preacher, an author. He is a father fighting for parental rights. He goes to these school board meetings. He's done it here in my state in New Jersey. He's part of the See You at the Library, which will be later in August, where thousands of families are going to get together at the public libraries and read wholesome books for a wholesome story hour instead of this drag queen story hour. We're going to have a normal story hour. I know Kirk Cameron is involved in that as well. This is all done through the Brave Book series, which I champion. I think it's a brilliant series. So I'm honored to have him on the show. Let's get him going here. And it's his birthday today, so I appreciate him taking a few minutes of his day out of his day to spend it with me. Let's bring him on the show here.
You're listening to the Alec Lake Show. The future is family.
All right, here we go. Joining me now, John Amanchukwu. Welcome to the Alec Lake Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And one of the things I've been saying for a very long time is that I really wish that Donald Trump, the Republicans, would hammer more on this subject of what is happening to our kids, because I think it's something that crosses both lines. You've been right at the forefront of this, and I really applaud you for the work you've done. But I really think that we should be hammering away on this. I just wanted to get your take. This California law now that they put in is going to be another one of these laws that's going to keep parents in the dark from the school system, being allowed to keep secrets from the parents about their kids' gender, their identity, and all this stuff. So what's your take on that?
Well, you know, Governor Gavin Newsom is just a prototype figure that fits the Democrat leftist woke narrative. He is only furthering the Marxist, atheist, anti-Christian bigotry that the left has been pushing upon Americans, in particular Christian conservatives, for the past few decades. It's sickening, to be honest with you. It's disgusting. You know, oftentimes people call these kind of policies and bills, they say that it's indoctrination, or they say it's grooming, but I call it mental rape. That's what it is. It's mental rape because it assaults the soul, it stains the brain, and it robs children of their innocence. How in the world can a child leave from home and say that his name is Johnny, but get to school and say that his name is Jane, and the guidance counselor and the principal and the teacher is going to tell Johnny that, oh no, Johnny, I agree with you. You are Jane. And we're going to support you in your strong delusion and your lack of reality to become something that you'll never be. And oh, when your parents show up, you know, for graduation or for an assembly or to pick you up at school, we won't tell them. Secrecy amongst a minor is the roadmap for pedophilia. You create opportunities of pedophilia and the access to it when adults keep secrets with children. Listen, I have 3 children, a 14-year-old boy, 13-year-old girl, and a 7-year-old son. I don't keep secrets with my kids because I want to train them that adults don't keep secrets with you. And so if I'm not keeping secrets with my own children, God forbid a public school system doing so. It's evil. It's corrupt.
It really well said, John. And it's almost insane that we are having these conversations. And who would have ever thought we'd even be talking about how the teacher would be keeping something that alarming, that's serious from their parents. And of course, I believe it's because they have broken down our family units. They've broken down the parents. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, I consider it to be the number one social issue we have in the country is the fatherless crisis. We have so many kids that are not in their picture of their kids' lives, and that is an epidemic in this country. And when you break apart the family, you have now the government becomes the parent. You have so many single moms that are co-parenting with the government, and so they have an easy way to get in there and start doing this. They have free reign on your kids, and I think that's probably, if not the biggest reason why this has exploded the way it has.
Yes, of course. And just think of the legal ramifications. You know, if you are liable, you know, if you are responsible for keeping a child in your presence, you know, we used to tell kids, whatever you want to be, you can be, right? We used to tell kids that when you go to school, there's only one adult in the classroom. Do whatever your teacher tells you. Don't tell a child that anymore. It's 2024. We have perverts and punks in the classroom. I talk about this all the time. You're either a punk, a pervert, or a protector. The three P's. You choose a P. You're a punk, a pervert, or a protector. And the school system is going to be liable if the child harms themselves because they're keeping secrets with a minor. The school system will be liable. And so I say this to parents that are in California, it's time for you to rebel. It's time for you to have a mass exodus from the public school system. It's time for you to practice what is called peaceful civil disobedience. Don't stand for this level of insanity. God did not give your child to the government. God gave your child to you, to both father and mother. And it's your role, it's your responsibility to do what the Bible says in Proverbs 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. We do not co-parent with the government.
Yeah, amen. And it's true, because this is what they want to do. And it's you even hear the language. You know, I've hosted a show called First Class Fatherhood for 5 years, right? I've had over 750 dads on that show, and it focuses a lot on that fatherless problem. And then last year, Joe Biden started to echo that Marxist phrase where, hey, there's no such thing as somebody else's child. These are all our children. And so they have this notion, that Marxist ideology, that children belong to the state or children belong to the government. And they, just like you said, children belong to their parents as a blessing from God. And right. I really do believe that they're the underdog in this election coming up, because some of the parents is a virtue signal. We see these parents that trot their kids out there on TikTok or trot them out on Instagram, and they transition them. Especially we see the Hollywood. I mean, your chances of having a transgender child in Hollywood go up like 4,000%. They've all got transgender kids. Some of them are 3 for 3. They have 3 kids. All 3 of them are transgender. So this has become like a fad. But I really believe at the core of this country, parents in their right minds are saying, no. This has gone too far. And so the far left people ain't never coming back. But the Democrats that are on the left, they're saying, we're not going for this either. I think they're going to be right on board with that messaging.
Yes, I agree with that. You know, I am labeled as the book banning pastor. I have now traveled to 14 states. All right. I'm the leading voice speaking out nationally. I've traveled to 14 states, amassed over 300 million views. I've been able to flip 2 school boards, one in Pennsylvania and one in New Jersey. I've been able to strike down a transgender policy 5756 in New Jersey. I've been able to defeat a Satanist in Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, who tried to ban the Bible in the library because I was, seeking to remove filth from the library, because I'm not a book banner. Most of this talk around being a book banner is a farce. When we say that we want to remove these books, we're saying that if a child is under the age of 18, they should not have access to it. Just in the same manner, if a child goes to school, he or she just can't type in Pornhub or XXX video and go to their latest porn website. No, because they put governors on the internet. The same thing should be done with the library. And so I've been able to remove dozens of pornographic books from around this country. And there are 3 takeaways that I have as a result of doing this. Number 1, perverts are perverting the hearts and the minds of our kids. Number 2, parents are unaware. And number 3, pastors have failed us. The church, the Christian church, the ones who name the name of Christ, who are made in the image of God, the Imago Dei, pastors who are called to speak and expose the evil of our day, they are failing to do so because many of them have lost their spine and they've become weak. And instead of speaking up, they will much rather blend in with the culture. But we're not called to be governed by the culture. We're called to lead the culture, to set a difference between what is right and what is not right, between what is wholesome and towards what is not wholesome. The church, the Christian pastor, should be the first voice speaking up, willing to address these issues head on. But oftentimes, many of our pastors have become soft, and they won't say what needs to be said because they don't want to offend people. Hear me. Truth is offensive because truth is a train wreck. We have doctors who are practicing malpractice, who are practicing medical malpractice, right? In that they are allowing kids who have gender dysphoria to come to their doctor's offices, and they're removing healthy breasts. They're removing healthy sexual organs just to make money and to push the woke narrative. This is sick. This is corrupt. And this is, to me, the most quintessential topic of the upcoming election. It's parental rights. It's how we handle and treat our children. It's very important. And I believe that we're going to sway a lot of people to the right side where there is sanity and common sense, because the left has gone too far.
And I think it's pretty easy to do it, John. I don't think it's really that difficult. And this is why, too, I'm kind of confused. Just last week or the week before, I had Dr. Etienne Heim on the show here. He exposed that hospital down there in Texas who was mutilating these children. They want to throw him in prison now for it. He's facing 10 years in jail. But he knew it was what they were doing was wrong. I've had Riley Gaines on here. She's one of the most outspoken people, and she's doing a great job bringing. I don't know why. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I don't see Riley Gaines at the RNC speaking. I don't see Dr. Eitan Heim there. I don't see you there speaking. We should have this issue should be being hammered home. And I don't know if they're acting in the way that you just said that the churches. Are we taking our foot off the pedal on this a little bit? They don't want to upset the apple cart with the transgender community or wherever it be, the LGBT. I don't know. But somebody big and prominent should be there hammering this point home. If they want to bring in other, like they I know they brought that former pornographic Satanist, whatever her name was. She came in, she spoke there at the RNC. You got to bring somebody in here to hammer this point home and bring those Democrat parents who are on the shelf and saying, yeah, I don't want men in the locker room with my kids. You want to bring them on board to our party here and get them, into the ballot box for us.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was a little bit taken aback that I didn't have an opportunity to speak at the RNC. I'll be honest with you. I'm the leading voice speaking out nationally at school boards. No one is going to 14 states to defend children. And I'm not leading a quote unquote black movement. I'm leading a true Christian, whosoever will, protecting children of all colors and creeds in America. And so, I was taken aback a little bit by that. We do need to have strong voices platformed who are speaking up against this woke insanity. We hear from the same political talking heads, and we hear from the same politicians, but I'm leading a grassroots campaign. And I'm also in the midst of putting together a documentary so that I can further expose what's going on that will be released in October. And, through bravebooks.com, we are leading a monumental movement to create Christian-leaning book fairs through Skytree book fairs. We're having opportunities for parents to go to libraries. We're doing a campaign called See You at the Library Day in 2024. It's going to be on August 24th. And the first way of getting involved is to register to become a host. All right, you would get direct support from See You at the Library team to make planning your story hour as easy as possible. And you can register at bravestoryhour.com. I'm asking everyone to do that. We have 700 locations prepared now to have a See You at the Library Day. What does that mean? That means that parents who believe in wholesome content, who believe in virtuous content, who believe in the new book that I have that's going to be coming out soon, entitled Deep Within Doomsdome. It's a book on self-control. And now more than ever, we need our children to have self-control. We just witnessed a guy that looks to be transgender. All right, there are pictures and images coming out about that, who attempted to assassinate a former president, soon to be hopefully our next president. We witnessed that, and no one is speaking up about the fact that, that this kid was insane, and that, the Secret Service, it seems as if they were complicit, you know what I mean? Which is another lack of self-control. You can't hate a person so much that you're willing to try to defeat them through shooting them versus beating them at the ballot box. And so I say to everyone out there, go to bravestoryhour.com, go to bravebooks.us, and find some of the content and the materials that we have. There are a plethora of virtuous books that you can engage in, that you can read to your kids. Listen, I have become internet famous from reading porn and filth at school boards. I've been kicked out 5 times. I know what it's like to have 6 law enforcement officers in your face ready to arrest you. I know what it's like to be threatened and told that if I read from a pornographic book that's made available to kids in schools, that they would arrest me. We are dealing with a police state. We're dealing with woke tyrants and communists and Marxists who want to shut us up, censor us, and silence us. But I can't be quiet. I can't shut up. I have a mandate to speak truth and to speak up for our next generation. And through Brave Books, we are leading the charge to put the right kind of content at the fingertips of kids.
And God bless you for it. I love the Brave Book series. I've done interviews with Trent Tolbert, who's got the Brave Books going. I had Kirk Cameron on, and a lot of the guys that do the books. They're so well done. I love this series. I'm always a proponent and a supporter of that. So I'll definitely have the link to the Brave Book series down there in the description below. And just what you were saying there right before, that it's not a black movement that you're doing. This issue that we're having, this transcends everything, because parents of every single race are just as appalled by what's going on in our school systems. And so whether you're a black parent, a white parent, an Asian parent, nobody wants to see this stuff happening. And that's why I think it's a unifying topic. I think you have a fringe group of people out there who are maniacs that are going along with this type of virtue signal, as I said before. And then you have regular parents who are like, no, we're not allowing this to happen. And something has got to happen to change this in the public school system. I know in Tennessee, we had it where now they got to put the 10 Commandments back up in the classroom. Or is it with Louisiana? I believe that was Louisiana. I think we need more and more. I think we need more and more states, because, as I said before, the Father's been removed from the home, but our Heavenly Father's been removed from our society. And unless we get both put back, I think we're in doomsday here in this country, because that's the 1-2 punch, I think, that's killing our country.
You're so right. We saw in 1962, when prayer was banned from the public school system, school-sponsored prayer, that America took a downward spiral. We barred kids from hearing a non-denominational, non-proselytizing, non-aggressive prayer. It was a prayer to Almighty God. We were asking for his blessings. It was a prayer for our country, for our teachers, and for our families. But today in the public school system, we get it. We understand why they don't want a non-denominational, non-proselytizing prayer about our country, because in the public school system, we're taught to hate our country today. We're taught more about the 1619 Project than we are taught about 1776. Black students are told to hate the American flag, to not be a patriot, to castigate and disparage our founding fathers. That's what we are taught in this country. So it all makes sense. But keep in mind, America was founded upon Judeo-Christian principles. When you say that, people say that you must be on the Christian right, whatever that is. I don't want to be on the Christian right. I just want to be a right Christian. And I also want to do what's necessary to defend and protect children. Listen, you're either a punk, a pervert, or a protector. That's it, Yeah. And I believe now more than ever that this election will tell who is who and what is what.
Yeah. And thank God, like I said, we have people like you that are putting the spotlight on this and keep hammering it away. And I'll drop the link down there for the Brave Books and for the See You at the Library project. But where do people go to find more about you yourself and what your work? I know you got the book coming out too. Where do they go to find out more about you?
You can go to iknowgod.us. That's iknowgod.us. And you can also follow me on Instagram, on X, and on YouTube at REVWU Truth. That's REV, V as in victory, WU Truth. Thank you so much for your support. Listen, I look forward to locking arms with you. My friend, we have a lot of work to do, and I'm appreciative of what you stand for and your stand in America.
Yeah, well, God bless you for what you're doing. As I said before, parents are the underdog, the future of this country, the future is family. I'd love to have you back on anytime down the line. John Amanchukwu, thank you so much for giving me that. Happy birthday, and thank you for taking time out of your birthday here to spend it with me on the Alec Lace Show.
Thank you so much. Today, you're right. Today is my birthday, and I'm on vacation, so I've been working on my tan, man. I'm working on my tan, but I took some time away because I wanted to join you because the role of speaking up for kids. I always look forward to that. So I'm thankful to be able to give my 40th birthday towards the fight that so many kids deserve and need.
Amen. We'll get back to your family and enjoy it. I'll get you back on down the line.
You got it. God bless you.
Powerful stuff from John Amanchukwu there. I'm honored to get him on the podcast. Got to get him on again back down the line because he is definitely my kind of guy, and his voice is so damn needed right now. And unless I missed it, I got to go through it again, the RNC. I didn't see a Riley Gaines speaking at the RNC. Right? I didn't see John Amanchukwu. He should be there. Why are they not hammering home this issue right now? Is it because they're playing it safe to not upset the apple cart with the LGBTQ community? Is that what they're doing here? I don't know. But correct me if I'm wrong, but have they had a prominent speaker to speak out against this transgender nonsense? Dr. Eitan Heim might have been a great pick, too, to speak. But certainly Riley Gaines or John Amanchukwu, so. But parents, you are the underdog right now. You're the ones I believe that are going to put us over the top and take back this country. Take it away. Take the freaking government's hands off of our children. I mean, come on. This is the no lose. We cannot lose on this issue. This is a must-win issue. We have to protect the kids. All right, so honored to have John Amanchukwu on the show and Mike Benz. What did you think about the podcast today? If you liked it, smash the like button. Follow the channel here on Rumble. If you missed out on Tuesday's show, I'm telling you, go back and take a listen. I had some great guests, two guys that were right there, 20 feet away from Trump when he got shot in the face. Sean Parnell, Mayor Longo were here. Navy SEAL Team 6 operator Rob O'Neill was here to break down some of this breakdown in the protection detail. Also had Congressman Tim Burchett, Clay Clark. So if you missed out on Tuesday's episode, please go back. I don't know what next week's going to look like here. I'm going to try to rustle up some guests for next week. Everybody and their sister and brother is over at the RNC in Milwaukee. Hard to get contacts right now. Everyone's doing that. So I don't know if I'll have guests next week. I'm going to try to make a couple of reaches over the weekend to see what I could come up with. Follow me on X at Alec Lace to find out all the upcoming guest announcements. If I get them, I'll get them to you first over there. I appreciate you spending your day with me here. And let me know what you thought about it. Leave a comment down below and share the broadcast with everybody in your family and in your contact list, all right? God bless all you parents and you listeners out there. God bless our police, our first responders. God bless our military, active, and veteran. God bless America. And I will catch you guys next week right here, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live, back on Rumble. Have a good weekend.
You're listening to The Alec Lace Show. The future is family.